welcome to Aspen, and if I say welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, don't mind me, you guys, because I can barely keep track of my brain right now. And that's why I'm not interviewing Danielle. She's interviewing me. Danielle is from Between Us Girls. It's a podcast about women talk, and it's all that good stuff. So without further ado, my co-host for today, take it away and start interviewing me.
Well, thank you for inviting me onto the show to interview you. Thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome.
And our show, Between Us Girls, it's like a little bit of everything. It's a talk show style podcast in which we talk about love, dating, relationships, spirituality, all that good stuff. And on top of it, we review wine. So we basically just pop open a bottle of wine every week and go, which makes for
Wine in a podcast, like wine in a podcast, like how luxurious. Although I don't think you want the wine bottle to go into the podcast, Mike. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, one thing that we do on our show is whenever we do have a guest, we ask them one question in particular, which I'm going to ask you. What is your astrological sign so we can properly stereotype you?
My astrological sign is a Cancer. I am a
Oh, really?
all the way. I'm on the cusp. It's so funny you asked me this because someone else asked me this morning. So, and they're going to interview me as well. And they asked me what my astrological sign was, so I had to tell them. And so I am on the cusp of Cancer and Gemini. I sit on the Cancer side more than I do the Gemini side because I am born June 22nd. So, yes, that's on the cusp of Cancer, Gemini, and Cancer. So I act like a Cancer all the way. I don't even hold the signs of a Gemini. I do not.
Well, my mom is a Cancer, and one of my really good friends is a Cancer as well. So you're in good company.
Yes.
A little bit of a mean streak, do you have?
Stubborn. Like, you give me a project, I see it through the whole entire way. Although I teach kids, so my poor colleague, she lets me do, let's just say when kids are acting nasty and not paying attention, let's just say I have to do the scolding, and my colleague goes, whoa, because I'm so sweet. This is my personality, you guys. I don't put this on for the podcast. I don't turn it off. My sweet personality comes out. So when I do have to get angry at people, I get angry. So I guess that's now. I didn't realize that until today, actually, when now I have to look that up, Danielle, because now I have to see, do Cancers hold a mean streak? Because now that you say that, I have had that mean streak I've always been a fighter since day one, but I have had that sociability mean streak since day one. I mean, I was turning around to adults at age 6 and saying, hello, how are you? And the adults would turn around and look at me like, what did that 6-year-old just say to me? But at the same time, when I get angry at people, I get angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for the most part, I would say that from the cancers that I know, like, they are very sweet, very giving people. Like, if you need anything, I mean, they'll give you the shirt off their back if need be.
Yeah.
But just don't cross them.
That's me.
That's in my experience. Just don't cross them.
That's me to a T. I'm giving, and then when I get angry, don't come near me. Don't come near me, because that's exactly me to a T. And as I said, I sit on cusp of Cancer and Gemini, but at the same time, I'm a Cancer completely, and yeah.
Earlier today, I was listening to like a few of your podcasts, and one thing that I'll say that I've noticed about you is that you just seem to have like a general sense of just happiness. Like you seem like a happy person, and like you're fulfilled in what you do, and you're passionate about what it is that you're doing. And I was just wondering if it took you a while to get there, or is that an accurate assumption? First, I guess I should say that that's how you are as a person.
Well, a lot of people think with my challenges, with my physical disability, aka cerebral palsy, I would have a mean streak to me. I would think, why would a higher power give me this? Why would a higher power give me the challenges of cerebral palsy and not being able to walk on my own and rely on other people to get me dressed and rely on other people to guide me and rely on other people in my daily life. And so that's my personality. My personality is happy to the 10th degree, and I'm also accepting of the facts. I accepted the facts when I was 6 years old. I was lucky enough to go to a private school where I'm lucky enough to work now as a faculty member. And so, and big shout out to Country Day and all the faculty up there. And so I was able to accept that something was different with me at 6 years old, and then I knew it as CP. I didn't know it until until I was in 7th grade, and I tell this story publicly on the podcast before. My mom was pulling down the driveway at my school, and she turned and looked at me and said, "Wynn, I have something to tell you. You have a physical disability called cerebral palsy." And that, by the time that hit, I knew I had cerebral palsy. By the time I was 6 years old, I knew something was totally different with me. Mm-hmm. And then she goes, "Have a nice day," and dropped me off at school. I almost killed my mom. God bless her. I actually lost at age 23 to a brain aneurysm / meningitis. That's public too. But I'm like, Mom, you had to tell your seventh grader that on the way to school. I know exactly where she did it. I know it. And every time I drive down that driveway, I keep picturing that conversation. And it's like, really, Mom? Really? You had to. You couldn't do it in the privacy of my own bedroom. You couldn't do it in any other place. You had to do it on the way to school, and I couldn't call in sick because I was already at school, so no way. So I'm like, really? You couldn't just do it on the day off? Nope. You had to do it. You had to do it at the base of a driveway, and that's like, have a nice day, sweetie. I think that's what she said. And I got out of the car, and I'm like, whoa! My life just changed forever. And then I had the opportunity to Google what is CP in high school. And I closed the laptop and almost cried when I Googled what is CP, because I think the number came up first, and at that time it was over 1,000 babies have CP, and I thought, oh boy, we're dealing with a big green monster, and I'll get to why I say that's called green in a minute. But oh boy, we're dealing with a big green monster that I can't control, and I'm one of those 1,000 that has CP, that can't be cured, that won't go away, and so now I have to control it to the best of my abilities. And the reason why I say big green monsters, because the national color for cerebral palsy is green, and on National Awareness Month, just so everyone knows, is March. No one ever really does anything for cerebral palsy. Well, maybe after they listen to this, they would, but no one ever really does anything for cerebral palsy specific. I know people that do March of Dimes for premature babies, which I am a March of Dimes baby myself. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that in March I can spread the word just a little bit stronger on this podcast about cerebral palsy, and maybe I should even research it again. That would probably be a good idea, me researching it again, just make sure I had the facts straight. I believe the last time I checked, it was over 1,000 babies get diagnosed each day with cerebral palsy.
Oh, wow.
And I just found out that another educator, podcaster friend that I listen to, one of his twins is now 3 years old, and they finally diagnosed her with cerebral palsy. So basically, kids are getting diagnosed later in life because they're not meeting their milestones, and the parents are freaking out and taking them to the doctors, and then they all of a sudden get newly diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So, and it saddens me because I got diagnosed the day after I was born. I got diagnosed probably a couple hours after I was born, actually. So I got diagnosed either the 22nd or the 23rd of June, 1987.
So you just didn't know until you were in middle school what your diagnosis was?
I knew, as I said, I knew something was different with me at age 6 when I saw my friends skating on the pond gracefully, and yes, I say skating on the pond, and playing with a soccer ball gracefully, but I didn't know until I was in middle school the full extent of my diagnosis, and then I didn't know, again, until I was in high school, the statistics and what I was exactly dealing with.
Mm. So, speaking of when you were in middle and high school, is that when you developed your passion for writing?
Yes, yes. And a lot of people don't know this, but yes, I developed my passion for writing actually in third grade, believe it or not. And at the time, they were trying to teach me cursive, believe it or not. This is how you know it. We don't teach the kids cursive anymore. Maybe we do. But at the time, my teacher had said to both my parents, well, how are we going to teach Wynn to write? She had a physical disability, and my dad looks at my teacher and says, you can't take a pencil out of Wynn's hand. My teacher goes, okay then, we're going to teach her how to write. And I've been using assistive technology since second grade. I had a big Macintosh desktop computer with a printer set up in the classroom. My parents set that up for me because unlike public school, they don't provide aids, they don't provide assistive technology. In private school, the parents have to provide, number one, the aid, number two, the assistive technology. So I was very, very, very lucky and blessed that my parents were able to provide not only the aid, but the assistive technology as well. But I typed my spelling test on a computer, and the kids knew not to touch it, and they knew that was with the assistive technology. Now I'm so used to using the Apple iPhone for assistive technology. Now the assistive technology fits in the palm of my hand.
So if you had to choose between doing the podcast and writing, which one would you choose?
Oh God. Danielle, you threw a curveball. Okay. I would have to. Oh God. Now I really have to answer this one. I feel like actually, now people can laugh when I say it. Writing a book. If I had to give up the podcast, which I'm not going to do, Aspen is not going anywhere, you guys. But if I had to give up the podcast, I would give it up in 2 seconds flat, because people know more. The reason why I say that is because when you say my books on Kindle, people actually know what you're talking about. When you say I have a podcast, people kind of look at you like you're crazy. And I don't know if you get that feeling when you try and explain your podcast and Danielle too. But I get that feeling all the time. When I say I have a podcast, people go, what's a podcast? And
right.
I say that because I'm actually doing a journalism degree right now, and I go back to my program next week, you guys. And one of the classes I'm taking is radio and podcasting. And so I didn't realize my podcast was going to turn into a mini homework assignment, but that's okay. That's okay. But I think if I had to give up the podcast and choose writing, I would, because a lot of people understand the Kindle mechanism, and a lot of people understand the paperback mechanism, and it's so easy to self-publish books now that if I had to give up my dream of being a podcaster, I would, and just have one creative mechanism. My mechanism would be writing.
How do you get your creative juices flowing? Yesterday I went to a filmmaking convention, and they had like different people speaking that were in the film industry, and I realized yesterday when I was sitting there just the beautiful collection of people that I was sitting amongst. But they all had like a certain energy, like a magnetic energy about them. I don't know if it's just because they all have these big imaginations or they're just like one of these artsy, creative people. But I found myself very attracted to that energy. And it's always, I'm always curious to find out how people get their creative juices flowing. So do you have any like tricks of the trade to sort of just get your writing going?
Do you mean, does Miss Lynn not have writer's block or podcaster's block? Meaning I do. I do have writer's block. I do have podcaster's block. But I think once I learn more about the training, you guys, and once I learn more about the podcasting industry in this class, that will get my creative juices flowing for podcasting, because for the first time in my life, I'm actually sitting down and taking a class about it. Other than that, I've been self-taught over these years. So how I avoid writer's block, believe it or not, I go, and how I avoid podcasting blocks is I go work out. Number one, that helps get your creative juices flowing. And number two, I don't edit my podcast, because after I'm done, I just stick it up naturally and people seem to like it. They haven't told me when you should edit your podcast. Or maybe they have. I just beat to a different drum and I don't listen, you guys. But fact of the matter is, I'm like every other human. I get podcasters block. I get writers block. I just deal with it. I write for 20 minutes and then I step away from it. Looking out helps. Hanging out with, I'll walk up. I force myself. As a matter of fact, I almost didn't do it today, and I thought, you're nuts. I force myself to get out of my office and go upstairs. So that takes walking up a set of stairs, actually walking up a set of 2 stairs, and then sitting down in a different spot. And I try not to bring my phone, and I try not to bring any technology with me, and just go sit by a window and look out at the beautiful nature. And that's how I avoid writer's block, by moving. And that's how I avoid podcasters block, by moving. And once I experiment with this class, I hate to tell you guys this, but my podcast is going to turn into a mini podcast lab starting next week.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure they're going to be asking the students, do you have a podcast, or do you know what a podcast is?
It's funny to me, like, the amount of people that don't know what it is, but
no.
And when you try to explain it to them, it's like, what? What are you talking about?
Huh?
But I was the same way. I didn't know what a podcast was until one of my co-hosts was like, we should do a podcast. And when she said that, I was like, what is that? Like, I don't know what that is. And, you know, when she explained it to me, I got it. I basically just tell people it's like internet radio. And that you can, that's on demand, that you can have whenever you want. Like, that's just my basic explanation of it. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and it's kind of like off aside from everything else that we've talked about. So lately I've been kind of on this, I guess, spiritual journey, you can kind of say. Like, I've really been reading books about being mindful, and that's part of the reason why I asked you about the question about you being happy, because when I was reading earlier today in the book, it was talking about, which I can't remember, I'm reading this book and I can't even remember the name of the book off the top of my head, but it was talking about how more people are depressed now, and it's they are foreseeing it to be like 1 in every 5 by 2020, I think it said, somewhere along those lines. Anyway, basically that the numbers were going to increase for people experiencing depression and anxiety. And when I was listening to your podcast, and I was just like, it's so crazy how that is when I listen to you, and, you know, in spite of the things that you have to go through or that you face, that you just seem like a genuinely happy person, and people that don't have your issues are suffering. And I'm just like, that's kind of strange a little bit. But I'm just wondering, like, at any point, like, I don't know, do you believe in God, and did you ever question God throughout this ordeal?
Yes, and I questioned God after. I believe strongly, and I will tell you I'm Catholic, safe. I'm Celtic Catholic through and through. I'm also 100% Irish, so I believe in God, and I did question God when I lost my capability to walk, and this is actually the first time I've admitted the questioning God part on the podcast, but I did question God when I lost my capability to walk. I didn't question God because of the spinal fusion, just because, and I'm one of the millions that had the spinal fusion, and for those of you that don't know what a spinal fusion is, it's common scoliosis surgery. And for those of you that don't know what scoliosis is curvature of the spine, and I still have scoliosis. It's a lot better than it was back then in 2006, because they can't, when they do a spinal fusion on someone, they can't straighten out the scoliosis completely. I now have a 10-degree scoliosis curve, which I want to get rid of, but I'm slowly but surely working on it. But I didn't question God about the scoliosis surgery itself. I questioned God about why someone left me paralyzed for 20 minutes, why someone gave me propofol infusion syndrome, why I had been under anesthesia for over 1,000 hours now throughout my life, and this was the first time that I really got allergic reaction to the anesthesia back in 2006. Turns out that I'm one of a million people that have propofol infusion syndrome, and so I did question God about the aftermath of my scoliosis surgery.
Mm.
And
yeah, I
can be honest with you, I thought about taking my own life, but
oh,
that
really?
didn't last too long. I seriously thought about it, but then I didn't think about that in the hospital. I thought about that when physical therapist of mine told me you need to go see a counselor, and because you are very dark and depressed, and I'm like, hello, I just had scoliosis surgery. I can't walk. I'm learning how to use a walker, learning how to gain my independence again. And so that's when, and I admit this in my book, Come and Win. That's when, and my mom happened to be listening, and she goes, don't talk to that physical therapist again about that certain subject. And then I thought about it on the way home, and then I started molding my first company on the way home. Actually, I started molding my first company lying in a hospital bed in 2006. And then when the physical therapist said you need to go see a psychologist, then that just dawned on me. That day I actually researched art companies and researched painting programs. And just the other day, my dad asked me, when are you going to get back to painting? And when are you going to get back to doing your artwork? And so I need to get back to doing that after my journalism program. And you guys, I can't do it right now. I wish I could. But after my journalism program, I will pick that company back up again. And I never thought I would see the day where I would, but everyone seems to love my artwork. And I mention it, and I Come and Win. And if you Google my name and artwork, you can pretty much find it if you go to fineartamerica.com and type in WIN Charles, CHARLES, and then you can find the artwork that I did and buy a piece of it. It's still floating around online. It's so funny that my dad mentioned it the other day. But to answer your question, Danielle, did I question God? Did I think about committing suicide? Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You seem to be very busy with different creative avenues, and you also seem to have lived like a life. Like your life seems very rich. Would you say that to be true? Would you agree with that?
I believe that life is what you make it. If you, and this is for anyone specifically listening to this who's newly paralyzed, we have one of the top rehabilitation centers in this country, and I actually need to go down there and see what they're up to. We actually have one of the top rehabilitation centers in the country, Clay Hospital, which is 4 hours away from me, and maybe after my journalism degree, I'll go down there and see what they're up to and maybe meet some of the patients, because life is what you make it. I have a girlfriend who got paralyzed on my birthday, and my birthday's June 22nd. She actually got paralyzed on the night at midnight on June 22nd, and the vehicle slipped underage driving, and she actually got paralyzed, and she's just as happy as I am. Had those few depressing moments, and now is slowly getting back to being her normal self. But it's been tough watching her journey, and I'm very close to her journey now. But life is what you make it. If you want to be depressed, that's fine, but don't join my team. I can't deal with people that take me down. So if you want to be depressed, that's fine, but just stay away from it.
Well, I think the message is, it's like with anything, with no situation is bigger than who you are. So you can always choose to look at the positive side of things, or you can choose to look at the negative side of things and go on a downward spiral. It's basically your choice. And obviously you've chosen to look at life and situations on the positive side versus the negative, which can be appreciated, and which somebody else can look at you, and they can become hopeful considering that. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak with you today on your show and interview you.
Well, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. And take this message and share it on your podcast, because as I said, I think it would be fun for you guys to do a bonus episode of Between Us Schools, just so your other co-hosts can see your talents, that you can interview someone if they ask you. And I know you guys have guests on your podcast, and I would be happy to do it again and meet the cast and crew of Between Us Schools. And I have a question for you. Did you get into this without a journalism degree, or what is your original degree, or are you just doing Between Us Schools for fun? Now, granted, I have only listened to one episode, bad me. I need to listen to more of Between Us Schools, you guys. Now Wynn needs to practice what she preaches. Wynn makes the guest of Ask Wynn come on. Now I need to pick up my game and Between Us Schools a little bit more than I do. But are you guys just doing it for fun, or what's the deal on that?
Yeah, we just kind of started doing it for fun. It was just basically a thing for us to do, to get together on the weekends and just actually see each other, because we would talk like on Facebook or text or something, but we wouldn't really see each other. And so it was kind of a way to force us to actually hang out with one another, which was cool, so because we actually get together and do it. I know a lot of people just record their shows. They have co-hosts across the country, and so they don't really get to see them that often. But we actually meet up every other week and record the show. So, but no, we don't have any professional background in this. We just kind of winging it, to be honest.
And a lot of us don't. A lot of us, my professional background is teaching, but it's soon to be writing and journalism. In 2000, I finished my degree in 2019, so I hope, and then I will slowly but surely walk away from teaching and transfer into journalism and transfer into being a full-time podcaster / writer. And if I, that's going to be a huge transition, because here I am used to being in education, and here I am now being a teacher through books and being a teacher through podcasting as well.
Yeah, I didn't really think that I like it that as much as I do. Like, I remember when we first were talking about doing the show, I was like, I'll give it a few episodes and, we'll see. And then it's like a whole new world opened up for me that I didn't even know existed. I really like the fact that I get to talk to people that I would have never spoken to before. Like, had I not said yes to this experience, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I think that's pretty dope, you know. And I mean, we've had people on from just all over the world, really. And I mean, I've been on a show that's called the Love Life Show, and they're based out of Australia, which was a bit of a time nightmare, but I mean, it was really cool. It's like, oh my God, people are listening to me in Australia. And then just the opportunities that come through podcasting, just to know that your voice has a reach outside of your immediate community is cool, because, you know, when you look at your analytics and you see where people are listening, it's like, oh my God, somebody's listening to us in Finland? Really? Like, I mean, I think that part of it is really cool, and I had no idea that I was going to like it as much as I do. So, I mean, I kind of see doing this forever, I guess. I mean, it would be really amazing if we could make money off of it, but it is what it is, and so whatever happens, whatever happens.
There's ways to make money off of it. I just haven't found a way yet, you guys. But I will find a way to make money off of it. And I know the moment I say that, someone would probably send me money, because if they like the content, they are going to somehow find me and send me money, which my PayPal information is in the show notes, you guys. So more than welcome to it. But I have to be a little bit better on Patreon. That's my next goal, you guys. When I fully transfer into being a freelance journalist, I promise you guys, and you guys are going to hold me to this, I'll set up a Patreon account /win. That's how we're going to do it. And that's how we're going to make money off this podcast, so at least it covers the hosting fees, because hosting fees could get mightily expensive, as Danielle knows, I don't know if she's paying the hosting fees or cast through it, but hosting fees are getting mightily expensive, and how we do it is, I'm lucky that my host, Lipson, is a fabulous host, and I'm not paid to speak about them by any means, but they're fabulous hosts, and they only charge me $30 at the end of the month, and I fully admit that on the podcast, that it's a one-time fee monthly, and I'm willing to pay it to keep this podcast going, but at the same time, when I fully transfer into journalism, I will have to figure out another way, because there's ways to make money off of it. It's going to be a little bit of a trick for me, because I'm used to that stable paycheck, even though that stable paycheck isn't enough. But that's just because of the profession I'm in. It has nothing to do with my disability whatsoever. My stable paycheck has nothing to do with my disability. It's because of the profession I chose to go in before journalism. Now looking back on it, do I wish I chose journalism and skipped the education part? Of course I do. But I'm lucky enough to be going back to school, and I'm lucky enough to be earning slowly but surely that associate degree in journalism and fashion journalism to be exact. So we'll see how it plays out. But I thank Danielle for coming on tonight and interviewing me, and I hope you guys stop by between us girls. And Danielle, where can people find you guys?
The easiest place to find us is our website, www.betweenusgirlspodcast.com. And from there, you can find all our social media. You can actually listen to episodes there. You can, we also have a newsletter that has different things. So you can sign up for the newsletter so you can know everything that's going on with us. We have different events and stuff planned. Right now, we have a running challenge going on, and we have a book club that'll be starting up. Well, we have a book club that's already started, and the next book will be starting February 1st. We have to pick a book first, so stay tuned for that stuff.
Well, stay tuned for that stuff, and if you want to borrow any of my books, go ahead. You're more than welcome to it. If you guys want to borrow any of my books, you're more than welcome to it. Then I can come on and do a awesome talk, because we need to support independent podcasters, and we need to support independent authors as well. You guys, you heard me talk about that on the last podcast, how you guys are not supporting independent authors. Thank you very much. You're supporting the big boys. You need to be supporting the little guys. But we're getting to that point. Once we get over the hump of what a podcast is, maybe you guys will understand that I am also a writer, and maybe you guys will support my book and my books. And for those of you that are supporting my books, I thank you, and I truly appreciate that. But I need more support of my books and my podcast combined, and I'm sure Danielle needs support of between us girls. I mean, it's tough being a co-host on a podcast, and then tough producing the podcast as well.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's a lot of work, but it's enjoyable.
Oh, it's a lot of work, but it's enjoyable. And as I said, I thank you, Danielle, for coming on my podcast and interviewing me. And please, you guys, stop by Between Us Girls, send them an email via their website, and just have fun with it, you guys. Those of you who are newly into podcasting, just have fun, but just be aware of Aspen may become a podcasting experiment here, all depending on what I learn in my podcasting class. And yes, I will tell you guys what I'm learning so you guys know what to expect. And so I am looking forward to making this podcast bigger and better, and I am looking forward to making the Between Us Girls community bigger and better as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast takeover today with Danielle. I certainly had a great time, and now you guys got to know a little bit more of my story, and there's more podcast takeovers to come, and we'll see how it goes. And so I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode with Danielle and I. Thanks to you guys. Bye.
Bye.